Democratic candidate for Senate James Talarico responded to a question from someone at a town hall who asked Talarico if he was the one pushing class warfare in his rhetoric surrounding billionaires.
I hear you talking a lot about the wealthy and billionaires, and how is that not just like pushing for class warfare?
We already have class warfare in this country. It's the billionaires waging war against the rest of us. And right now, the billionaires are winning. They've been winning for 50 years.
And for this audience, I know that this must be an incredibly frustrating question to hear being asked in 2026. Progressives have been talking about this stuff for years, for decades really. It's a big part of our platform. So for us, all of this is kind of old news. It's not a talking point, it's accepted fact. But I always say that part of the struggle of being a so-called progressive is that you tend to be ahead of the times in your ways of thinking, idealistic even. So a lot of the time, we're just desperately waiting for others to catch up to where we're at. Sometimes that does happen and sometimes it doesn't, but in politics, there's always a push and a pull. We're the ones pushing forward while the conservatives are pulling backwards. So while it is frustrating to hear this question being asked in earnest, I'm personally thrilled that a man wearing a cowboy hat in Texas is even willing to stand up and ask this question at all to a Democratic Senate candidate, no less. I am thrilled that cowboy is at that town hall. And I'm thrilled that he's trying to understand something he doesn't yet understand. And no, I don't blame him for not yet understanding something that, again, we have been screaming about for years. There is so much that people take for granted as far as what is and isn't within the general overall bigger zeitgeist, especially these days because we have built such impenetrable silos around ourselves and our chosen cohorts. There is so much that simply does not reach entire demographics of people, and even if things do reach them, they often don't have someone in their lives to explain certain ideas to them in a way that is accessible to them. Some people are scared to even have those conversations in the first place because it would mean taking a step into a world that is foreign to them and taking a step out of a world that they currently exist within very comfortably. But before we go on, let's hear more from Talarico.
Trickle-down economics is not a theory, it is theft. For 50 years, the billionaires have been stealing from the American people, stealing the wealth that we created. It's why everyone is so angry right now. It's why, no matter how hard you work, you can't seem to get ahead. The American people are not asking for a lot. A job we don't hate, a house big enough to raise a family in, and a little left over so we can go on vacation every once in a while. That is a lot harder than it should be. Harder than it should be in America. So I'm not fighting for class warfare, I'm fighting for the Americans.
Throughout history, there are countless examples of a wealthy minority forcefully governing over a less wealthy majority. The numbers make sense. By definition, not everyone can be the richest among us, not everyone can be elite. However, throughout history, those examples are often much more obvious than what we have here in this country. In the United States, we have a democracy. We're not supposed to have a class system or a caste system or anything like that. We have democracy, we have a Bill of Rights, we have the American dream. We have been sold an idea that if we work so hard, that we will be rewarded for that hard work. We're told that this country functions as more or less a meritocracy, even though when we look around, we see the richest among us don't often work nearly as hard as those who find themselves in endless cycles of poverty and debt. We see inherited wealth translating to political power and influence. We see the wealthy destroying social systems that are meant to give the working class its best chance at prosperity and dignity. Most Americans aren't looking for billions of dollars. Most Americans wouldn't even know what to do with billions of dollars if they had them. Most Americans just want to be able to do the things that Talarico mentioned in the clip. They want a home large enough to raise their families in. They want to put food on the table. They want to have enough money saved up to put away for a rainy day, for a vacation. A vacation shouldn't be a luxury reserved for only very wealthy people. Everyone should be entitled to some time off, to some leisure. But the American value system has long been built around hard work with the promise of reward. An entire generation of people were told that if they went to college and spent thousands of dollars on their education and yes, worked really, really hard, that they would come out on the other side with a salary that would pay off those student loans in no time, buy you a house, buy you a car, and pay for your kids' daycare. Instead, we saw the most educated generation this nation has ever seen making for the first time less money than their parents did. Modern salaries don't go nearly as far as they used to. And we're all used to the reality by now that prices of everything keep going skyward while wages remain stagnant. Raises are treated as nice to haves if the boss feels like giving them, when before they were guaranteed and depended upon. So now the longer you stay at a job without a raise, the less you're effectively getting paid. More experience and time spent in a role is supposed to demand more pay, but if pay is stagnant and the rest of life is more expensive, the opposite has become true and commonplace. The result is that instead of people advancing in their lives and planning for their futures, they're stuck simply trying to constantly make ends meet, and that struggle gets more difficult over time, not easier. Then let's consider the tax structure. Let's consider the expenses related to healthcare in this country. Let's consider the fact that despite having a democratic representative government, our government constantly and consistently makes decisions that benefit the wealthy and the corporations at the expense of the people, the environment, and the very fabrics of society. Who got tax cuts from Trump? It wasn't you or me. Have the monopolies been broken up yet, or have they been allowed to further grow and consolidate their power? Obama gave us the Affordable Care Act, but even that has become unaffordable for many people. The idea that people would get health care through their jobs is silly at this point, because many people work at jobs that don't offer health care, or they work as contractors so they don't qualify for health care, or their jobs don't give them enough hours so they don't qualify for health care, or they were laid off and have been unable to find another job because we're experiencing one of the worst job markets in decades. Meanwhile, Trump has been promising to replace the ACA with something even better for literally the last 10 years. That is not hyperbole. He just keeps saying that it's coming in a matter of weeks or days, and he has been saying that for 10 years. The other people struggling within this deliberately flawed system are not the problem. The people reaping the benefits of a socialist society while dismantling actual social programs and calling them communists and calling them handouts, they are the problem. They have always been, historically and around the world. However, the very idea that the exorbitantly wealthy are leeches on society rather than its heroes goes against our capitalistic American ethos, which is why so many people struggle with it. They're being asked to overcome a lifetime of indoctrination, and that's not done overnight. One good thing coming from the release of the Epstein files is that people are beginning to understand the lifestyles of the rich and the famous and the well-connected. Wealth doesn't just buy yachts and mansions and islands, it buys access and acceptance into echelons of society that the 99% don't even know exist. Or if we know they exist, we wouldn't know where to find them. We're learning how these wealthy individuals, who no one in this democratic nation voted for, have been shaping society, government, business, entertainment, even ideology for years and years, all without anyone's knowledge, let alone input. The fact that the words of Bernie Sanders are finally becoming mainstream, in the sense that political candidates who don't even necessarily identify as leftist or progressive are campaigning on them, is a very good thing, and it is a victory for the left. Again, I know we've been having these conversations for a long, long time, but it's finally time to bring more people into these conversations. All right, that's it for me. If you got anything out of this, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks.